Welcome, everybody, to Sally Speaks Mindset podcast. I'm your host, Sally Arkell-Boles, and today I'm thrilled to have and introduce you to LaFon Gooch. Now, Tara is an executive, a CEO of her own organization, and recently she's just launched her newest book. So we are going to talk a lot about that today because I know, Tara, one of the things that you really like to share and you know where you can make a big impact is through confidence. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit about what the reason was that you wanted to write this book, first of all, and how you feel it's going to really make an impact?
Thank you so much for having me on the show today, Sally. I'm so excited to talk about this topic of confidence, right? Confidence is often that silent struggle that many people are facing in life, but few admit to having. And why? Why is that? Well, people generally think that, a lack of confidence is a weakness, right? So I think it's really important to talk about this as a topic, talk about it out loud, and then I'm fine to be the poster child to admit that I've suffered for a lack of confidence nearly my whole life, because I want people to know that confidence doesn't look like a particular person. A lack of confidence can happen to anybody, right? And I think that's a real key is that, for a long time, it held me back. It held me back in school. I mean, from elementary school on. And it held me back when I entered in the workforce in my career after I was finished college. So it followed me. It was this shadow that followed me throughout my whole life. And it led to things like depression and anxiety. And all the while, the root cause was actually a lack of self-belief, Sally.
I think that self-belief is something that I'm really finding so many people are struggling with, and especially in the last 5 to 10 years, because I think there's so much pressure. Number one, we have immediate access to anything that we want to hear, listen to, get involved in, and we start to judge ourselves based off of what other people are doing or what we perceive they're doing, what their journey has been compared to ours. And I think that that does play a lot with our confidence. And I've seen more and more people really struggling with being able to really appreciate what they have in the beauty inside and to have that confidence about what they're bringing forward.
Absolutely. And you hit it right on the head, especially nowadays with social media. Hello. I mean, this is the land of compare yourself to everyone under the sun, right?
Exactly.
So, the poor children that are growing up right now, especially teenagers who have, access, and that we're comparing bodies, we're comparing how much money we make, cars, vacations, all this comparative things. But really, comparison is the thief of joy, but it's also a thief of confidence, Sally. When we compare ourselves to somebody else, we're diminishing our own self-worth by putting our value on someone else's identity.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing I think that is misguided there is that we don't know anybody's journey, right?
Yes.
We don't know where they've been and whether what they're portraying is they could have been in business for 20 years and yet they've just started to make it now. Or they may just be faking it until they make it, which is great. I like that concept. But at the same time, we're still judging ourselves versus other people's lives that we don't really know. And so I really think that that's a big piece of how our society is going now, where we do feel, like you said, body type, what their profession is, how they dress, everything else comes into play. And we think, well, I have to do that in order to be happy, or I have to be that in order to have that confidence. But truly, it comes from inside. So what has been your journey in this?
Oh, gosh. Well, it comes from the inside. So I do want to say that, if we're looking for confidence in the form of external validation, which I did for so much of my life, that was the only sense of confidence I had, believe it or not, was if someone else validated me. Isn't that it's so sad to say out loud, but so true. So I just want to emphasize that because confidence truly does come from within.
Yes.
Any amount of, and I talk about this in my book as well, that, if we're chasing that external validation, it's like a drug. And ultimately you're chasing that high of one more. I just need one more accolade, one more recommendation, one more testimonial, one more person to validate my worth as a human being. Well, guess what? And then at the end, just like a drug, that high goes away and you have these unaddressed needs now, and it's a craving. You crave more of it and more of it and more of it. And it is like a drug. The best way to build confidence is from within, and it's a seed within inside of us that we all have and possess. So I do want to point that out as well, that there is a seed within all of us. Even if we feel very unconfident, there had to have been a point in time where we've all said, you know what, I deserve more. You know what, I'm not going to put up with that. You know what, I deserve better than that. You know what, I want more for myself. Guess what? That's confidence. And sometimes it's just like that spark of a seed, belief. And if you can identify that spark, just keep growing it, just like a seed. But it is a muscle that you have to work at and practice every day.
Yeah, I agree, because, there's a lot of things that like when we were first born, we had confidence. When we were first walking, we had confidence. But how many times did your children fall as they're learning to walk? And yet we encourage them to get back up and try again. But they don't just sit down and say, well, I'm never going to do this. I don't have the confidence to walk. They find a way and they keep trying and trying, and they fail and they pick up and they fail and they pick up. And eventually they're running around the house and you're like, whoa, slow down. Right. But it's that confidence, inner confidence that we have, and that a belief in ourselves that we can accomplish what we want to accomplish. And I think as we're growing as a society, we've kind of lost touch of the fact that we have control over that inner talk, that inner ability to be able to control ourselves. So I love what you're saying with regards to it comes from inside, because it really does. We can look for those outside accolades, but at the end of the day, if someone isn't telling us that we're good enough, then we're probably not feeling good enough.
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece of it. And having worked for, 40 years in the corporate world, I saw a lot of that, where people just would compare themselves to the top performer, or I'll never get that promotion. And so they held themselves back because of the way that they showed up.
Oh, you just hit on something. Self-excluding behavior. That is one of my things that I talk about to a lot of, especially women, Sally.
Yes.
You can be excluded in so many things in life, but everybody who's listening to this right now, don't be another person to do it. Don't be another one. Don't add to the dog pile. Don't self-exclude. I think that is so key and so fundamental, because how often do we self-exclude? Again, going back to especially women, we could be 85, 90% qualified for a role, for a position at a company, where our male counterparts may be 50% qualified. And because they believed in themselves, they applied. So they got the role.
Yes.
And meanwhile, we have self-excluded because we have told ourselves that we aren't enough on some level and capacity. You have to be able to put your name in the hat. And I do want to say that don't self-exclude anybody that's listening to this. And if that resonates with you, keep an eye on that, because how many opportunities are we letting pass us every day? And I don't want to see anybody out there become less successful. I want to see people definitely succeed. So yeah, don't self-exclude. That's a big one.
Yeah, I agree, because I've, in my corporate careers, I've witnessed in a lot of different environments, depending on, the team that I was with at the time, how many people would hold themselves back, even though I would see something in them as their leader, and yet they still didn't have that confidence to go forward. And I would encourage them to apply or to want to take on that next role. And it would take sometimes a lot of conversations to get them to actually see the skill set that they had, and that they could handle what was coming forward, and that they were ready for it. And yet we hold ourselves back. And I've seen that over and over again. And it's, it saddens me, because I see so much potential in other people, and oftentimes they don't see it in themselves. So I love that you've been able to talk about that. So now I see behind you, grasp. So why don't you tell us about your acronym GRASP? Because I think that's just fabulous. There we go. How to cross. What's your book called? Put it up again. Hold it up.
Oh, yep. So my book is called How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And it's a simple 5-step method to change your life.
Excellent.
And GRASP stands for the acronym G for gratitude, R for responsibility, so responsibility, ownership, mindset, A for action, S for sight, and P for purpose. And it came to me, and I talk about it in my book, when I was in that, depressed state, when I didn't think that I had value. I honestly didn't. And I started giving more. I started helping people. I started chipping in where I could, whatever, method it was. And I started to realize how many skill sets and talents and abilities I actually had. And it gave me gratitude, but it also started to give me confidence, Sally, because I started to realize that actually the foundation of confidence is gratitude. It's by giving other people back. It's by contributing to something greater than self. And that when we do that, it creates this wave of gratitude within us. But this is the important part, is that gratitude rewires our brains. So this is scientifically proven. This is not pseudoscience. This is factual science, that gratitude can rewire our brains. But here's the thing. If you can rewire your brain, you can form new beliefs. And if you can form new beliefs, you can become confident. So you can go from believing, I don't deserve this, I'm not enough, I'm not smart enough, good enough, talent enough, attractive enough, etc., to go and start to reframe those thoughts into empowering ones instead of limiting ones.
Yeah, I think that gratitude is so important. And so many of us forget to be grateful for even the small things that are happening in our lives, or for the people that we get to touch each day, because there's so many people that we can make an impact from. And two, just with having a conversation, because sometimes we take for granted that with the current dynamic of us being remote, most of us, or working in an office space, that you're not really around the people that you choose to be around, that you can gain that energy from, and to have that conversation. So I think, for me, I'm finding that those daily conversations with other people fires me inside and makes me grateful to meet these new people and learn from them every day. So that gratitude is definitely one of the practices that I would think everybody should be honoring for themselves. It's for you. It's for nobody else but yourself, but to be able to offer that gratitude.
Absolutely.
What's responsibility? Tell me about the responsibility part.
Yeah, so responsibility is a responsibility. It's an ownership of our thoughts and our actions, right? That we are the creators of our realities. I think that's really important. A responsibility and ownership mindset is not a victim mentality. It's a victor mentality. So it's taking anything that's, bad or negative that, happened to you in your past, and using it as an empowerment tool to transform yourself into something greater, not letting it dictate your future, but actually transform you into the person you're meant to be. So I believe that, confidence starts with that foundation of gratitude. You need to rewire your brain, form new beliefs, beliefs of self, but then you need to solidify that through a responsibility mindset that doesn't allow limiting beliefs and self-doubt and imposter syndrome and victim mentality to kick in. So that's why that's my second element, is responsibility mindset. So it's so key in order to really taking charge of your future.
Yes. Yeah. And, I teach a lot about mindset because that's my expertise as well. And it really does come down to, I usually tell people as well, when you're rewiring your brain, you're just telling yourself a new lie, because what we already think of ourselves is a lie. So let's tell ourselves a new lie about how we would like it to be. And so when you think of it from that perspective, we're just reprogramming that thought into a better thought, and to be able to move us forward. Now, the next one, the A, I love the A, because this is where it really starts to make a difference.
Absolutely. Right. And, I see a lot of people take action first, right? But they haven't built up that responsibility mindset. So what happens? So they take action and then they stop. They don't develop that consistent behavior and thought pattern and action pattern. So in order, for you to be an action taker with strategy, you need that responsibility mindset first. That way you keep going and make it a habit and pattern and, consistent practice. So the action is where we start to really build that confidence because we're building the momentum. That's a good, place to be at because it keeps you going forward despite challenges, despite obstacles, despite failures, because they're going to happen and it might not be fun, but you're going to learn something, right? But as long as we keep going in that way, we will have success. And for me, it started with the 1% rule, because in the beginning, I was so depressed. I couldn't really have gone much more than that, Sally. So I started very small, very small. And every single day I started improving a little bit. I would take action. And as I kept those commitments to myself, I started to become even more confident. And then it was like a snowball effect eventually. The more momentum I built, the more confident I became. This book wasn't even finished yet. And I was on Fox News and I landed a TED Talk. That's confidence. I knew that this message right here couldn't wait for the book to be done, that the world needed to start hearing it immediately. That's the level of confidence I'm talking about. Now, a lot of people may hear that and say, how did you do that? Sounds scary. It is. And you know what? Fear is fuel when you become unstoppably confident. You use fear as a driving force to keep going.
Yeah. And I think also when as you're talking about that, when you start taking that action and you put it out there before the book's finished, you're putting it out there that you've got your book because you know what it's going to be. It also forces you to take a faster action to get it completed. And therefore you're not going to let it go on for a year or 2 years and say, oh, I'll get to it. I'm not interested in it now. I don't know if it's the right material. You find a way to make it come to fruition. And so I appreciate that you're sharing that today, because a lot of people would wait until all those ducks are in a row before they even talked about it to anybody. So I really enjoy that you brought that element forward, because I think that's the key, is to trust and to be able to take that action and know that it's going to fall into place, and even bigger and better than you usually expected once you take it.
Absolutely. And I was not planning and expecting any of those things, but I just kept pushing and I kept that self-belief high. So I didn't get deterred when I heard the word no. It was just on to the next, right? And you have to have that level of determination, but you get that way, again, once you start taking that action, it's inevitable. And, if you practice that 1% rule, you do it every day consistently for a year, at the end of the year, you're 37 times improved. You're actually not the same person at 37 times improved. You may not even be recognizable.
Wow. And
it's so attainable for us all. And literally 1% could be 15 minutes a day.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so attainable.
Yeah, I love that. And then, that 37% difference is massive for most people's performance. And just even for who they're showing up as in their relationships, with their family, with their colleagues, with whatever it is that they're doing in their business, it can make a huge difference when you start showing up for you in the way that, really is true to your inner being, like you're talking about, your inner soul, because I think that is where, we've forgotten about that. We've forgotten about that element. Now I see sight as the next one. So tell me, is that vision?
Yeah, very similar. It's, when we think of visualization, we think of that as, inside of our heads, right? But sight would encompass visualization, things that, we're wanting, goals, right? We have to be able to visualize it. So in sports, an athlete doesn't go into a game and visualize every single possible avenue and way that they're going to screw up the game. No, they do the opposite. right? They visualize themselves winning. They visualize themselves catching the ball. They visualize the fans going wild when they score a touchdown or get a goal. They visualize these things. And then what they tell their bodies to do is, okay, you see what's in my head now. You have been trained to do this. Go forth, right? Go forth and conquer. Well, it's similar with the game of confidence. We have to think about it. We have to visualize it. But then having sight elements around ourselves as well that we can actually see with our eyes is important too. So a vision board, that's where those kind of elements come in. You know, having a vision board and then pairing it with sight, visualization. And then you pair it with the action, you pair it with the responsibility and the gratitude. You see how these keep piling on each other? Yeah. So this is not like, I'm done gratitude, on to the next step. This is very much, it's a lifestyle change. So I also want to, put that out there, that this is not one step, I'm done, then on to the next. Some days I have to go through all 5 steps because I'm having that kind of a day, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Some days it's more gratitude. Some days it's more action. Some days it's more, I need help visualizing. So this is an acronym that's easy to remember. And that's why I developed it, because we all know these things are important, but do we practice them? And having an easily memorizable acronym like GRASP, it helps people so that they know the steps and don't have to, search for it as much.
I love that. And then we got purpose. So tell us about purpose. How does that fit in?
Yeah. So purpose, I actually dedicate 2 chapters of my book to. It's the last 2 chapters before the conclusion. Purpose is key because guess what? When we align with our strengths, our natural God-given talents, when we align with things that we're so good at, guess what happens? It builds confidence, right? So many times, Sally, we focus on what we don't have, what we're not good at, things that we're weak at, and we just ruminate and concentrate on those things, and it gets us nowhere in life. Let's not do that. Let's focus on our strengths. Let's focus on that purpose. Why we were specifically designed. Why are we here? I think that each one of us has so much untapped potential. And that we're all, these individual snowflakes. We're all so different and so unique. And sometimes that purpose is the pain of your past. Could be something that, may have happened to you in the past that, like me, for sure, my upbringing was not easy, right? It was a very painful childhood I had. How did I turn that into a purpose? By writing this book, by speaking on stages, by helping other people in the same situation overcome so they can live better lives.
Nice.
That's my purpose. And you know what? Once I tapped into my purpose, the floodgates opened. And that's how it happens.
It is how it happens for sure. Yeah, because once you have a purpose that's bigger than you, that's where it opens up. So what I hear is, I've had my journey. Now I'm able to get out there and let other people know that there is an opportunity for them to have anything and everything they want, and to see the possibility that they get to create for themselves. And that's what I'm doing. And that's just beautiful.
Yep. And I want to emphasize that, this journey from me being diagnosed with major depressive disorder, anxiety, having suicidal thoughts, that was 15 months ago. So I'm not going to tell people that this is going to take a lifetime. This is going to take years upon years. If you apply this method, this GRASP method, you can absolutely do the same, because it's a 1% improvement every day. It's a foundation of gratitude. It's that learning that responsibility, ownership mindset, how to anchor our sights, and how to find and align with our purpose. Guess what? That bridge from failure to success is actually very short.
Nice. And I think that's the misconception too, is that it's going to take a lifetime to make a change. And so therefore it sounds too onerous. It sounds too much like work and it sounds hard. And so I love that, you've used the acronym GRASP, like you said, so that it triggers people. But I mean, even if you just sat down in the morning and you put that down on your page, put GRASP, and then you just start writing beside it, create a new routine is typically what, I would suggest for people is to create a new system, create a new routine that you have that's going to feed you first in the day, because you won't be able to feed everybody else.
Yes, I
We're
love
not
that.
feeding yourselves first, we can't feed anybody else. And so I think that's exactly what you've created here, is an opportunity for people to say, yeah, this is possible. This is something that I could easily do. And as soon as I grasp this, I'm going to be able to run with it. And I love that you talk about how your story was 15 months ago and the changes that have happened. And so for those people that don't know what has happened in your life in the last 15 months, tell us a little bit about how your life is today and what you're feeling from having achieved the things that you've been able to achieve.
Sure. Yeah. So in 15 months, again, I used to not have confidence, right? But because of this book and through me showing my authenticity, my vulnerability, because I am very authentic and vulnerable in this book, I don't hold back. Okay.
Mm.
It enabled me to get life-changing opportunities. If I'm not the poster child for when you're truly authentic, the doors of success open to you, I don't know who is, right? This book helped me, again, land my TEDx opportunity. So I'll be speaking in Nottinghamshire, England in January on the TEDx stage. And my talk is about confidence. And I want to show people and give people that empathetic lens that a lack of confidence doesn't necessarily look one way or the other. And to teach people really how to become confident through gratitude. That's my goal through that talk. And since then, I've been featured on all sorts of places. Forbes, I'll be on the cover of a Los Angeles magazine next month.
Nice.
I've landed an editor position at a Fox Daily Post for personal development and leadership. So I'm excited because my story is really resonating with people and the right people,
Yes.
which
Well,
is really important.
yeah, and I think there's so many people that are looking for what you're offering right now, both corporately as well as individually. But the opportunities, like you said, the doors have swung wide open and they're showing up for you, and in a way that's probably bigger and better than you could have even imagined, 15 months ago or 10 years ago, to say, wow, this is me now. And
3 months ago, I couldn't have imagined this. It's really, truly, it's crazy.
Awesome. Well, I really want to thank you today for being here and sharing with our audience all of the glory that you're bringing and really your purpose that you're wanting to share with others, because I think, I can really see that the purpose is the reason why you're doing what you're doing right now and why you're having so much success. Because when we come at a servant level to be able to help others to free themselves of where they seem probably internally seem trapped. And to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel with just a simple concept that you're offering, and an amazing book that everybody needs to get their hands on. When is the release date?
Tomorrow,
Oh,
officially.
tomorrow. So what's the
I originally had it set for 8/18, but last week I pushed the paperback and hard copy out early. That was totally a mistake, actually. I meant to press pre-order and I pressed publish. But as with all divine timing, it was for a specific reason, because I've already sold a lot of books, I think 5 or 6 countries.
Wow.
So if I wouldn't have done that, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take that action, even if it was a mistake. So I'm so grateful.
And so now where can they find your book?
So it is available on Amazon, and you can type it in an Amazon search, either my name, LaFon Gooch, or How to Grasp, GRASP, Confidence and Own Your Power.
Excellent. That's awesome. So make sure you go out and get her book, because I think if you don't need it, somebody that will. But have a read through, because I'm sure that you'll find nuggets that will absolutely help you, and then be able to share it, because at that point is when we're going to be able to impact more people. And Tara's message is so strong and so powerful and so beautiful to the transition that she's been able to make in her life. And to be able to share that openly with others is a gift that she has. and it's obviously reaping rewards for her, but she knows the impact that it's going to make with so many more people. And I know deep down, that's where her passion is being able to help you to be able to make that difference in your life. So thank you again for joining us today, Tara.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.